organization. It has been on everybody's lips, and we have our views where that is concerned. We want to hear your particular section. What is the genesis of this?
Well, in my letter of resignation, there were about 5 key areas that I highlighted as the rationale of my resignation. The first one is that I saw the toll it took on the party when the former chairman, Karen Supersad Bechan, sat in the chair, and there was some dissent between the chairman and the leader of the party, and I saw the toll that took on the party. I am of the firm opinion, if it is the two heads of the organization cannot see eye to eye and do have different perspectives as to where the organization should go, the positioning of the organization, what is the political stock of the organization, then I don't think you can continue to be at loggerheads at the risk of the health of the organization. So I said that with one of those things being the reasons, I said that I would take my leave of absence because I do not agree with the position of the organization. I think that the current leadership is taking the organization to a very grave end, and I don't want to be a part of that. One of the other reasons that I put forward was, of course, the unceremonious removal of the President of the Senate, who was a sitting member of the COP. And I would think I would think that if it is such a move was going to take place as significant as the removal of a President of a Senate, then at least the leader of the COP would have been advised, would have been told, would have been consulted, or something, and that would not have had to have found out maybe a couple of minutes before or 10 minutes before or whatever. Okay. That in itself speaks volumes as to the level of respect meted out to the political leader of the COP. One of the other areas is that my name as the chairman of the COP was mentioned in the entire scenario around the alleged witness tampering, where I was called to a meeting to try and see if I can, do other things. And to this point, the leader of the COP has not found it fit to call to find out, why as chairman of the COP were you asked to attend this meeting? Is it true that you were asked to attend the meeting? What was the outcome of the meeting? What was the rationale of the meeting? Because that in itself would have serious consequences if it is all of these things pan out to be true. And a number of other issues that I felt as a COP, a party that always speaks to the issue of integrity and honesty and so on, that if someone makes a decision and says that they are not going to change that decision, and that decision is based on them speaking out on the issues of honesty and so, then you would think that a party like the COP would support that stance. So that was also one of the reasons.
So, on you assuming chairmanship, was there any, well, there would have been some form of understanding or MOU between you and the leader in terms of the direction of the party. Was that going good at the time, or did that change over time? How did that
Well, you see, over the years, there are a number of issues that I have spoken about within the COP. Even when you were there, you would know that we always spoke about the issues of fairness and equity, particularly for the ground troops and how it related. That is something that has plagued the COP from way back when, in 2010, when the government took office. So that is nothing new. And I have always been very vociferous as to the treatment meted out to the members of the COP from that level and the way in which we continue to treat with it. When I assumed the chairmanship of the party about 3 months ago, I felt that taking that position, it would put me in a stronger position to be able to influence the direction of the party and to be able to actually influence where the leadership would want to take the party and the strength of positioning that we would have within the organizational structure of the partnership. However, that didn't really pan out in the way in which it should pan out, because I felt very strongly about certain things, particularly the fact that the COP, you have to stop playing second fiddle. You have to stop playing, the bridesmaid at some point in time. You have to start stepping up and demanding your fair share. And after a while, one has to say when it is time for one to move on.
Very, very interesting. And I must say that, well, I have had my internal struggles myself. I have been one of the well, I could almost say a public member, because my number on my party card is 00 somebody, right? And in terms of the issues, this is something that has been going on for quite a while, long before you became chairman, in terms of morphing the party into this new politics concept. I never understand what new politics was about anyhow. But, so in terms of your history, you went up for election twice in the Diego Martin area.
Yes.
What was that feat? What was that, that whole process like?
Well, in 2007, you know, we were all excited by the concept of COP.
Right.
You mentioned that you never really got the new politics.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit, you know, up in the air for some of us. I would agree with you.
Many of us.
However, the principles and the foundations of the COP is what would have attracted us.
Right.
And when I say us, I'm talking about those persons who are swing voters or those persons who are not attracted to the regular confines and the floating vote and so. So that those were the issues and the concepts that attracted us. The concept of perhaps having an opportunity for the third party and the third force to have a voice in government and to have a voice in governance. And that is where the dichotomy of the COP came about, because even though you have become in government, there is a difference between being in government and having a voice in governance.
Yeah.
So that you have that issue. Now, back in 2007, I represented the COP in the Diego Martin Central seat, and we amassed, I think it was like over 5,000 votes or so.
Yeah.
And thereafter, yes, after in 2010, we maintained the status quo and we continued working within that area, and we shifted the numbers from 5,000 plus to over 8,000. You know, just coming up a couple hundred short of actually taking the seat, which is a significant achievement, not only in Diego Martin Central, but in the three Diego Martins.
Well, the three Diego Martins did pretty well.
Had significant results, and I always maintain that had we continued doing the work, had we received the support to do the things that we were doing inside of Diego Martin there, who knows what could have transpired.
So how do you go from standing alone, amassing 148,000 votes, and then go to the point now where people are just resigning left, right, and center? How's that? What's happening?
Simple, not maintaining your identity, losing who and what you are, not being able to tell the COP apart from, you know, any other organization within the partnership that it belongs.
Okay.
And I think that loss of identity was the genesis of why so many persons like yourself would have removed themselves from the party very early on, not being able to really identify.
I had my fight from 2006, 7, 8,
not
9,
being able to
10.
identify who and what the COP stood for.
Okay.
Almost being in position as an apologist for another party.
Right, let's get to the juicy stuff. A little contentious, but you know we have to touch it, right?
Sure.
So, you have some naysayers on Facebook and social media. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have.
Half of the course, yeah.
So, there are people that making statements to the effect that,
Excuse me.
that because of your husband being removed, that's the only reason that you acted, and also in terms of understanding, let's put it this way. I like to talk straight, you know me, right? They say the gravy train dry up. So because of that, you decided that you want to get out. You were only in it for yourself in terms of position and posturing.
You know something, I'm glad you raised that point, because I would use the opportunity to remind those naysayers of a few things. One of those things is that when I entered into politics, there was nothing that politics could have given to me that I didn't already have. Absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, our lives were much better and much easier when we were outside of politics rather than when we got into politics. And that is a fact. Secondly, I was appointed as a government senator in 2011. And at some point in that appointment, I was removed and my appointment revoked for whatever reasons. I think they wanted to create space. Similar thing with Timothy Hamilton, create space in the Senate so that that appointment was revoked. But I don't want to go into all of those details, but my appointment was revoked. Based on that revocation of the appointment then, of my own self, I did not resign and leave or anything. I continued to work with the party. I continued to stay with the COP. I continued to assist persons however I could have. Now you tell me, if there was ever a time for me to have done that and to take things emotionally and personally, as was stated by the political leader and a few other naysayers, wouldn't it have been the time when I myself was revoked and not when anybody else would have been revoked? That would have been the perfect opportunity for me to have expressed anger or expressed some type of disappointment that I myself was removed. And if at that point I continued working with the party and continued doing what I could have done to see how you could impact some positive change, then really the issue of, oh, she just resigned because they moved the husband, is a moot point, because I was removed. And whilst I was removed, I continued working. Now, the issue of the gravy train, after I was removed, as I mentioned before, there is nothing that politics can give me that I don't already have that I need. my mother taught me to live very comfortably with one shirt on my back and one pair of shoes on my feet. Granted, I don't have one pair of shoes on my feet because I work very hard, and I've been working very hard since I was 18 years old. All I know is hard work.
Right.
And so that those persons who speak about gravy trade, when I was removed from the Senate, I assumed no other government position, none.
Right.
So that there is nothing that we would have been, clamoring on to if that is irrational. So to those naysayers who are utilizing that as an excuse, come again.
The nameless, faceless kind of...
Come again. The easiest thing to do is to sit behind a computer screen and behind a name, sometimes a fake profile and so on, and, make statements and make comments. But
tell us about family life. I know this, you would have had a trying period before this excitement, then your husband's issue, you have a young son, and all of that, the hodgepodge of the excitement. How is that affected in any serious way?
Well, thankfully, I am surrounded by a number of good people. And when I say good people, I mean people who will tell you when you're doing something right and who will pull you up when you're doing something silly. So they're very straight up. People like you who would say it as it is and not be afraid to offend or whatever. So that I've always been blessed to have been surrounded by those types. And those types always take care of you when you're up, when you're down, when you're sideways, when you're however. Right. So that in terms of the impact on family life, sometimes it's been a little difficult. I'll be honest, sometimes it can be a little difficult because, as you did mention, I do have a young son and a very impressionable, opinionated one at that, who would read the papers, who would see things on TV, and who would take things to heart. Because if he sees something being said about any one of his parents, he is ready to rumble. And you have to kind of say, no, it's all part of the course, relax and explain things so that he will understand. Because as well, he operates within a little microcosm of the society, within his own school system, so that he also has to go into school and engage in debates and engage in that. So he's very, very much politically aware. But because we have such a strong support system, everything is fine.
Right. Nice. We are of the view that Nicole Dyer Griffith is in possession of good political stock at this time. Also Gary Griffith, because of the level or the integrity stance that you all would have taken based on what you all are saying. We don't see this much in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago at all. As a matter of fact, very rare.
Right.
So now that you have done that, what is in store for Nicole Dyer Griffith and for Mr. Gary Griffith?
Well, I can speak for me.
Right.
So all I'm doing at this point in time is just having a number of discussions with a wide range of persons, both political and non-political. I have been approached by a number of people, both political and non-political, I may add, because everybody has their own idea and concept of what should be the next step. And many of these ideas and concepts are very interesting, I'll tell you, Jeremy. And I'm just listening and I'm taking it all in, and at some point I'll make a decision as to my personal next step.
Can't wait too late, or you're going to wait too late?
I know I can't wait too late. I am very cognizant of all that. I am very cognizant of the fact that the political leader of the COP, in one of his media conferences, threw it out, if it is you think you're going to form a next political party, that we don't have enough political space for a third party, and that COP is the original third party, and so on. So I think a lot of people will come in for a great shock at some point in time. So
well, they should, because if we understand, the public outside there would understand the dynamic of our political, where we at in terms of UNCP. We have always had that floating vote inside of the center there.
Correct.
That has been yearning for that level of newness, or whatever, uniqueness, whatever you would want to call it. The COP was able to attract a large number of those people, while I always believe that they never opened it up much more to encompass much more people, which I assume was one of the greatest failings of the COP, because they used to call it the French Creole Party and and so on, right? So there's a group in the center there for the taking, and I am especially, you made me excited about politics again, for some reason. My job in the media is to keep politicians on track. As a matter of fact, this show, The Two Dotish Men, this segment of the show, was designed to deconstruct all the smart men and smart women. Because if you're a smart man and smart woman, you must be a dotish man. So that's how we came up with the concept, The Two Dotish Men.
I was wondering.
So that's our job, basically. But with your resignation in particular, it has made me excited about politics for some strange reason, right? So I await to see what you come up with. because I think that we need to have, you need to bring them, come man, let's bring them. Well, the runoff can be interesting also where you are concerned.
But if the provision is brought back to Parliament, because it has not come back just yet for ratification.
Well, so let's move the Senate President, right? When they move the Senate President, when he goes on vacation,
I am not going to go there.
Right, nice.
But
nice.
I have heard that said as well, yes.
Right. So we look forward to see what is going to be the new concept.
Yeah.
As I say, you made me excited about politics. So.
Well, thank you.
I've been excited about politics for quite a while. As a matter of fact, I resigned just after local government election, about a year after Mary King. We gave Mary King a proposal actually, and she put it in the 4 pillars of that budget that year. I think it was 2011, and we were all excited. This big group that we had and energizing all the people in COP. We had 12 losing contestants in the LG, but we were able to form a group and come up with structured procedures, and the only person that actually took us on was Mary King. And from there, we just went downhill. People just, everything goes, and that was quite disappointing. Yeah. So now that you have resigned under this principled stance, I think that we have a new day coming sometime soon. I'm hoping.
I hope so as well.
Right? So to Trinidad and Tobago, what would you like to say to Trinidad and Tobago for Nicole Dyer Griffith and maybe Gary Griffith within the future?
Well, I saw on Facebook one of those nameless, faceless persons saying that don't worry about Nicole, they'll forget about her in 7 days. And to that person, I love a challenge. Yeah. And I would do everything in my power to ensure that he or she or whatever it may be does not ever forget about Nicole Dyer Griffith anytime soon.
So we're talking about TNT, yeah man. That's the kind of politics you're looking for. And well, we have the 2 Dottishmen on set. As I said,
who are the 2 Dottishmen? You and
myself and Christopher Pinocchio, right? And then we have the original Breaking Dawn host, Stefan, and then we have a pretty young staff here.
Who's doing an excellent job, I might add.
Yeah.
The people on the other side of the camera can't see, but there's a beautiful young lady, if I could tell them, that is managing this entire system on her own and doing a fantastic job.
All right,
so kudos to you and the other Dottishmen who have, managed to include this woman in holding the fort together.
Yeah, doing a damn good job. We have a pretty young staff actually. Yeah. When I say pretty young, the type of staff that you would think that would be wayward. 18, 19 years kind of thing. And but we must say that they human support.
Another young man was the one who did the miking and so. So is it a policy of this station?
What was that?
To hire young persons.
Well, I guess it's more around entertainment and so on, so they will have much more young. We are doing tournament, well.
Don't say that boy, just say that we went to school together.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Alright, so of course, there was something I needed to mention in terms of the outlook, in terms of the FISA Accord, right? At this point in time, the UNC is at its weakest, I should say, because all the links of those 5 parties are almost non-existent at this point in time, and the red COP going there right now, it is not really a good direction. But in terms of, when you look at the overall politics of Trinidad and Tobago, do you see yourself fitting in there?
Yes, of course. With all of those other persons in the 3rd force and the swing voters who need to have some type of vehicle in order to continue to have a say.
Right. Well, you heard that, right? So you're going to last, right? So it was indeed a pleasure, Ms. Nicole Dyer Griffith, for gracing the studios of Synergy TV, and of course, Breaking Dawn with the 2 Dottishmen, and really appreciate your support. Well, you can come to me, I'm on the side,
I know that.
You know that. Oh, lots of success. Well, let me get it to you, it is good, right? So do have a good day. We'll come back shortly with the we have news. We have news with Stefan Reese, so look forward to that, people. We'll be right back.